Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. Apologies for the echo, the setup, the room. This is my new office, and at the moment I have nothing in the walls. There's no sound dampening, so it might sound slightly echoey, but I hope you bear with me because this is a video that I couldn't wait to actually show you guys and record for you guys because Epic just launched. They just released last week this animation sample project for this motion matching, and I have to admit I downloaded it. I didn't really play very much with it, and I've been waiting to record this video so I can show you guys a little bit of what goes on as we are working with this together in video. So first impressions, or close to first impressions, and also what's good, what's bad, and what can you find the animation package with the 500 animations. So without further ado, let's get to it. All right, so welcome once again. Thanks a lot for being here. As mentioned, this is a shell of what the office used to be. It will get there. I'm going to put everything up in the walls again. Do not worry. Eventually this is going to look good, and it's going to sound better as well. I have this temporary lighting setup as well that is making me slightly darker than usual. So YouTube problems, first world problems. But here we are, and without further ado, let's look into this project. So I'm looking up here because I have my monitor set up slightly different now. And if you look at my desktop, you'll see that, now we have the sample project. Now I have a bunch of windows right now hidden, so you don't see much. So normally I have my outliner open together with the details and a bunch of other things. And also we have a content drawer right here on the left that I'll show you more about it. I don't want to give up everything right now for all those that haven't tried just yet. But when you open the project and you download it, you can first and foremost download it on the Epic Store. So I'm just gonna try and show you guys exactly where you get it from. Let me just get the Epic Store here open right there. And when you go into the Epic Store, you actually have this window, and then right on the news you have this module here, or this square, and within this square, this is where you click it and it takes you to a web browser. The web browser then takes you to the store where you can download the project. Once you download the project, it will open this thing again, but it will open it within the library, right? So when the library opens, you'll actually have a download for this. And then at this point, whenever it finishes downloading, you can double click and open the project. Now you can see here I have Jolly Roger, but I'm not going to spoil that. So when you open it, this is what you see. It's basically a brand new project with new content that you can basically peruse, at your own leisure, which is great. Now I think Epic did a great job, did a brilliant job at setting this up in a way that is visually appealing, even though it's very simple. So the first thing that you have to do when you actually get 5.4.2, I believe, you just basically press play. You can see here on the right, game animation sample, and you can also see the path for the project. So if I go ahead and press play, I should jump into the animation, which is great. Now you can see here how it looks, and by default, it's kind of purpley. It has this purpley blue color. And you can start moving your character around, right? Now, this is really cool because you have some color changes that you can do right here. The dark gray, which I really dig. Also light gray, which is more neutral and normal, I think. And then you have the one that comes with it normally. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up my settings the way I actually like. So you have this, and then you have another 3 squares in front of you that give you basically the animation widget, the view controls, and the readme for disclaimers. Now this one is the most interesting one of them all. So normally when you actually press this button here, you normally should have a window that pops up. I had it the first time that I tried it, and then you can basically select characters from so you don't have the orange guy, you can have other characters if you want to. It's not popping up for some reason, maybe something to do with the logic. You also have the view controls. There's going to be another window that pops up to kind of tell you about the controls and how to control the characters. Pretty straightforward, really. And then you have the readme, which is another window that pops up, basically gives you the text on what is included in the project and all these other things. Now we can jump to certain places, which is really cool, to obstacle one. So it takes you to pretty much where the arrow is pointing at. And then you have about 5 different obstacle courses that you can tackle. I'm going to run to it because I just want to make some tests here really quickly. And what you see me doing right now is basically just pressing the directional keys that you have on your controller, right? I'm using mouse and keyboard, and I'm using WASD, so I can actually kind of like move around. And the first thing that struck me is how awesome it is, the blending system, to actually go in a circle, right? This is what animators do a lot. When you actually start a game, you actually kind of like start moving the character around, you start jumping, you start moving the character around, because you want to see how the animation is set up. And in this case, it's actually really well done. It feels very natural, especially when you are playing it normally as a player would do. Going between the cardinal directions feels really, really cool. And even when you do it quickly, when you are like undecided on where to go, I'm just pressing all the keys at the same time, and you can see that the character, even though it's slightly weird, but it doesn't feel odd. It feels good, which is really, really good to see. So really awesome when it comes to the jumping, like there's an immediate jump and all that stuff. I'll go into the negatives in just a bit, but you have different types of jumps. So you have jump on the spot, which is very much it's a smaller jump. But if you actually kind of like give it a little bit of speed forward, then you have this jump that is slightly bigger. Same thing backwards, right? And forwards. So it's really nice. It has directional jumps as well, left and right as well, which is really cool. Now I'm going to go into the first obstacle course right here, right? And it has different widths, which is actually quite interesting, because what that tells me is that this is going to be one specific animation, that's going to be another specific animation, and this is going to be a vaulting animation, just vaulting up and then standing slightly. So I have to actually kind of like run up to it, and as soon as I hit it, I can just run over it. Okay, so let's try how this. Okay, perfect. So what this tells me, once again, trying this first time, is that anything that is this width, you can only jump across. But you can always do that. That's cool. Variation. So we have that one. Yeah, that's much more what I was thinking about. So I guess because the width is so thin, you just can easily jump over it, which is the normal kind of like default locomotion. But every so often you have that if you get stuck behind the wall. So I'm guessing if I'm just standing here and I want to go over it, then I do that animation. So that's really, really cool. So that tells me that in motion, you have one specific one to actually kind of like overcome that obstacle. And then when you are standing still, you have another one, which is really, really awesome. Now let's see what happens here. In motion, can I jump it? You can, and you actually do a little bit of a moving, vaulting, cool move as you go over it. And then if I'm actually standing still, you have yet another animation. That's cool. You actually have a couple of variations, I believe. Yeah, you have a couple of variations. You have this one, but I just saw another one as well. I might have been mistaken, but I believe there's a couple of variations on that vault, which is really nice. But the one that you see the most seems to be that like left foot forward or left foot to the side. And then I guess you have like the regular vault when you go up. So that looks solid. That looks really cool. Love that. And a big jump when you're actually jumping from a platform. Really nice. So what happens when you're actually standing still and you don't have any locomotion, you don't have any inertia, and you vault? Ah, cool. This is really cool. A little bit of a kickstand and then go up, right? Kick, up, and then go up the wall. That's really nice. So that's the basics. Really, really cool. Let's go into the next obstacle course that now has a few walls to climb. Let's see what happens then. 2.5 meters, go up. Yeah, do a little bit of a struggle while going up. Really cool. I love how the feet are actually struggling to go up. So this is like really high quality animation. So what happens when I'm standing still in front of this and just jump? Same animation. I believe that's the same animation. No, slightly different, actually. The feet actually go in first, hit that wall when you have inertia. But when you are still, there's a little bit of more of that, like I'm struggling a little bit more because I don't have any inertia forward. That's really cool. So once again, attention to detail. So let's see, vaulting over a hole or a chasm between two objects, really nice. And then finally, the same thing as before. That's going to be the same thing as that little obstacle on the back that it was like really thin. I'm guessing the same animation is going to happen. It's just going to fall. Perfect. Really cool. So I like how they actually put this shortcuts here, right? Because you can either go back to the same or you can go back to the one that is just next to it. So let's do that instead. So this video doesn't become super, super long. So now we have the same thing as before, 1 meter, 1 meter, 1 meter. So what's the difference here? So slightly thicker. Yep. Same as before. Slightly thicker. And then go up. Really nice. And then go up the wall. Really nice. And then finally jumping over. Cool. So we're starting to see repetition at this point, which is really nice, but yet, because there's so many different animations happening, it doesn't feel repetitive, which is really cool. So let's go to the next obstacle, which is going to be this one, to actually vault over things, and you may or may not fall. So let's see. Nice. Jumping over obstacle, going up, and then made it. Cool. Like really, really nice. I love the motion while in air. Looks really nice, and it doesn't feel repetitive. The looping motion doesn't feel repetitive. And finally, we have these obstacles that you can jump between. So randomize allows you to kind of like create different platforms to make sure that you don't jump the same obstacles all the time. And then I went past it. Yeah. Maybe because also I'm playing on the keyboard. Whenever you actually play on with a controller, it takes into account sometimes how heavy you actually press to jump, so it jumps more or less. But on a keyboard, it basically is like binary, right? It's basically you either jumping or not jumping. There's no like more force or less force, which is cool. Which is less cool, I should say. So. Okay, so a few negatives. I think it's time. So I think that the positives, 100% locomotion. I love the run cycle, feels really natural. I love how when you actually have directional changes, there's a little bit of more leaning towards a certain place, which is really cool as well. However, I think some of the negatives is definitely on the jump. The jump is the thing that actually slightly worse than most things. And even though you have variation, there's a moment here, especially on the fall, that feels like it's hovering a little too long, right? And another thing as well that I've noticed is that there is no grabbing ledges, which is something super essential. Once again, this is trying to cater for all the games in the world, and it's very generic. So this is the kind of things that you would do specifically for your game. So for example, here, if I'm starting to find out that I always overshoot this platform, maybe what I want to do is basically change the setup of the jump or change the animations of the jump so you can have a few variations so you can always hit it a little bit more precise. Plus, another thing that games do a lot is ledge grab, right? So whenever you actually are close to a ledge, like for example, I'm about to make, this one is pretty spoiler, but I'm about to make it here, but I didn't quite make it. I'm so close, but I didn't quite make it. That normally makes players very frustrated because you're just there. Can you please grab a ledge? But you can't, right? And it's not available here. So it feels like I'm so close and then I'm still either falling off or not grabbing a ledge. So it'd be really nice to have that. And then the other thing that I've seen as well is that obviously this is a project to basically set up things and demonstrate things for you for the most part. But there's some animations that happen quite often, like that foot right while like, going up, and also like, wall run and things like that. Now, like a bit of a disclaimer, the more AAA game it is, the more animation variation you have, meaning that whenever you actually go up a ledge here, if you start seeing things too much, it's just like we can see always that right thing. Designers most likely will ask you straight away, can we have a couple of variations to make sure that we don't see that kick to the side so much, to make sure that we see a few more differences between the different like jumps or ledge grabs or vaultings and stuff like that. So that's really, really cool. And that's the things that I would actually change for sure when it comes to the setup. And another thing that I've noticed as well, and once again, this is trying to cater for all the games in the world, but if a wall is any higher than 2.5, you cannot do this animation, right? And that's another thing that normally you would discuss with design. Like, can we actually go up walls bigger than that? This wall, for example, is a little bit bigger than 2.5, maybe just a block bigger. And as you can see, no matter how much I try to jump and try to grab, nothing happens. There's no wall grabbing, there's no wall running. You just can't. But here, I can do it, right? So once again, depending on the game, we might actually not want players to go above a certain range, but that kind of feels so close that I feel like I could actually do it. But nitpicking really. I do think that overall, this system is going to be so useful for you to get started with your animations. Like any indie developer out there looking to actually get their characters to animate properly, run properly, and move properly, is going to be over the moon with this, because this is actually a really great place to start. And then you can start adding the things that I just mentioned before, right? Make sure that it's specific to your game. And that's basically in a nutshell a little bit about this amazing game animation sample that Epic is giving us. Once again, they are actually making things so easy for games development, which is great. And most importantly, this brings basically costs down a ton. Animation is normally one of the things that takes the longest to actually make. And also it's one of the things that costs the most to make, because you have to capture mocap. Mocap costs hundreds of thousands of millions, and you have to kind of clean it up. Well, there's a lot of waste that sometimes happens because you thought something would work, but it turns out it doesn't. So there's a lot of waste of things happening. And this, I think, basically facilitates a ton, especially for small indie studios that actually want to tackle these kind of animations and want to make animation fluid in their games, and they can't because they don't have the resources to do it. Plus, now it's shippable, which means that you can press a button and actually have it in your build, which is a massive win. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Once again, apologies for the gorilla type video. Things are not set up quite yet, but I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, as always, stay well, stay safe. Peace.